Hello and welcome to the Astrology and Spirituality Show for week commencing the 18th of October with Alyssa and Patrick Arundell. So this week is a big week. Jupiter and Mercury go direct on Monday, and on Wednesday we have that mighty Aries full moon. Now this is going to be in a right angle with Pluto, therefore the Sun is in the right angle with Pluto too, and in fact the Sun and Pluto are kind of testing each other out all week pretty well. So the Sun is obviously our inner drive and energy, and in the sign of Libra it's about how we relate. So the sign of Aries is much more about I, whereas Libra is more about we. But then we bring Pluto into the mix, which is more about the politics in relationships. So over the next couple of weeks, on the back of this full moon, I think it could be a time to sort of reevaluate, maybe talk through some concerns, or if there is somebody who's being too forceful, be firmer on those boundaries. Now, in terms of the Hermetic wheel, Elisa, what have we got this week?
Well, until the 22nd, we're still in the Four of Swords category, which we did have a little bit last week. Four of Swords is very much about us feeling tired, a bit drained, a bit restless. So sleep is the key word with this. Rest is the key word with this. But then on the 23rd, we do move into the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups challenges us in a very different way. It's a very emotional card. Cups are about water, about our emotions. And the Five of Cups can see us looking back through our past, feeling like we missed out on something. We missed out on an opportunity. In the card, the Five of Cups, I'll share that on the screen. There's a guy there and he's looking at the three cups spilt on the floor and wishing that he could turn back time and fill them up again. But because he's sort of brooding over the past, he's not seeing the two cups that are still full in front of him. So there are still opportunities to be had. We just need to look for those silver linings. It sounds a bit cheesy, but that's what the Five of Cups asks us to do.
Okay. And even this week, in terms of that, potentially challenging full moon, and you can check out the deep dive video for that by seeing the video link underneath this video. Even with that particular challenging full moon, we still have Venus, the planet of relation, a bit like the Two of Cups that are still upright. Venus is forging an excellent link with Mercury and a very solid one with Saturn. So if we focus on those relationships that are nurturing, that do give us something back, that are mutually inclusive, that we do feel that we're part of some kind of unity, then there are still opportunities to make progress, but maybe come to terms with some of those relationships that haven't worked out. Yes. Now, somebody wrote in, and Gabriel, and suggested that we talked about the mythology of the asteroids and the fixed stars. Well, in fact, Gabriel, Lisa has done quite an extensive set of interpretations of the mythology of all the asteroids. How could we direct?
Yeah, I can pop them in the description box. I'll write them out and we can do that, but we can definitely go into those more as the weeks go on.
Do you actually have them on our blog that you could actually just
share the link? Yeah.
And then people can
do that.
So let's just try one to begin with, shall we? Mm-hmm. So let's go for Ceres.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, Ceres, let's start with that one.
So that would be a good one. So, Gabrielle, thank you so much for that prompt. And then Tim Pruitt has read your comments, I think, or going back to Elisa explaining the mythology and saying how much she enjoyed the mythology of things. And Tim's shared a brilliant book called The Labours of Hercules, which he says is all about the mythology of astrology. So thank you so much for sharing that, Tim, and to your suggestion too, Gabrielle. So if people want to check out Tim's suggestion, it's The Labours of Hercules. We've still got so much going on here at the moment, to be honest, but I really like the sound of that book, Tim, so I think I'm going to get that for myself. And Elisa will start sharing the mythology of each of the asteroids each week, starting with Ceres, and that will be below. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of the word of the week, Louisa, who's absolutely lovely, shared Kismet, and she felt it might be quite similar to serendipity. And we really loved that, Louisa. But Litz shared nurture. And we just thought, there's so much going on in the world at the moment that we're going to go with nurture, because it is a very kindly concept, isn't it? So what's your take on nurture?
No, I love that, especially because we do still have that Four of Swords this week, so it kind of ties in with that a little bit, that looking after something, whether that's ourselves or an animal.
Homegrown vegetables.
Plants.
And cooking from scratch, but putting all our love and passion into it.
Yeah, putting time into something. In a very busy world that we live in, things are so disposable at times. Things are very much, I'm guilty of scrolling myself, but when we nurture something, it happens more slowly. It's not just instant gratification. It's something we have to really look after, and I love that.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent.
We need more of that, perhaps.
What I was thinking about is that I was reading this morning briefly on Facebook, and someone was saying that they've been through a bit of a tough time, and they shared a list of different things they'd learned, but also some of the challenges that they'd experienced. And a lot of it is to do with exclusion, because I feel through social media, you get instant exclusion that is something that people have to deal with virtually every day in a way, because you might be part of a particular community but don't necessarily get involved in it. So you could see other people in that community saying, oh, what an amazing community it is, but actually that might not be your experience. So that feels very unnurturing. So, and it's not how they mean it. So if we have any opportunity to, like when we go for our walks at night, one of the things we love to do is to talk to all the friends, as we call them. So generally cats, but sometimes people are walking with their dogs, and it's always lovely to spend some time with animals. And you always say that's very healing.
Oh, it's so healing. I can be very stressed, and then as soon as you spend time with an animal, you have to be on their level. You have to be non-stressed for them to almost communicate with you. So I find animals very calming.
Takes us out of our head.
Yes. Yeah.
And walking, being near the sea, these things, give ourselves a bit of time to breathe, are all nurture. But so I thought that was a lovely suggestion, Liz, and thank you so much, and thank you to Louisa too. Now, we had Sarah entered her birth chart details for the birthday winner, but Sarah, you entered for the 17th of October, and this shows for week commencing the 18th through till the 24th. So I'm going to send you a free 12-month forecast. Expect to get that over the weekend. But the winner is Barbara M. from Indiana in Pennsylvania. And Barbara was born on October the 19th at 5:36 a.m. So without further ado, I will don the glasses and let's see what we've got then. So the first thing I would say, obviously Elisa is sharing the wheel on the screen, is that you have the sun at 25 degrees 42 Libra. So you are in the last decan of Libra. So therefore your decan rulership is actually Mercury. So communication is important to you. But when you were born, Neptune was very, very close to the sun, only 2 degrees away. So I think you're a very sensitive person, probably very caring, and possibly very creative too, with abilities around poetry, perhaps music, perhaps natural medicine, perhaps being psychic in some ways. But you also have Saturn not far from those two, only about 3.5 degrees away. So Saturn on the sun can be quite challenging. And you do have the sun and Neptune in the first house. So that gives you a need to be quite individualistic in a way. But Saturn's in the second house. So you may have had to work hard in terms of the foundations in your world, and also money may have been a little bit of an issue from time to time. But having said that, you've got one of the luckiest aspects of all in your chart. The sun is in a trine with Jupiter. So Jupiter also trines up with Saturn. So that alleviates some of the more restrictive energies of Saturn, because Jupiter's about expansion, so it's offsetting it. Jupiter's also in the 9th house in your chart. Now, Jupiter rules 2 signs, Sagittarius, very 9th house, and Pisces, very 12th. So the 9th house may have given you a love of information, of knowledge, of higher education or travel. So in that link between Jupiter, the Sun, Neptune and Saturn, that's a very lovely part of your chart. Also, Jupiter's pretty close to your 10th house, not very, so it may suggest that something to do with teaching, training or travel around your work has been an issue. But you do have Uranus in the 10th house, just like I do, so you're probably quite a free spirit when it comes to your work. Now, the other thing that I picked up with this chart is that the midpoint between your moon, which is in Pisces, so a very caring, gentle place for the moon to be, the midpoint is actually in Capricorn, and it's at 3 degrees, and it's in the 4th house. And you also have Chiron in the 4th house, which I have actually. So this makes you a very empathetic person, I'd say. But it can mean, I think, possibly, that you haven't always got back from others what you've given to them. That's how it may have felt at times. But you do have Mars in Virgo, which gives you great precision, but it's in the 12th house. So you're someone who can talk to people and I think get a feel for what they're about in quite a, you have a sort of a bit of a sort of psychologist way of feeling into people and situations. But you also, crucially, have Venus on the ascendant. So I think the way you dress, and it's in Libra, the way you dress, and Venus is the ruler of Libra, the way you dress, your speech is probably very soothing, and you may have a love of the arts or dressing in a particular way that gives you your own unique style. So that's a beautiful combination to have Venus on the ascendant, absolutely superb. So that's a little bit of a flavour for your nativity. Now let's have a look and see what's going on for you this year. Now, Barbara, you didn't say where you're living now, so I've had to do it again on Indiana. So if you've moved, the ascendant on this might be different. But essentially, the Sun is combining with Mars. And that's going on this week, of course. So Mars is involved in a big energy in that full moon with its ruling sign, Aries, very much in the mix. So having the Sun and Mars in your 7th house, along with Mercury, suggests to me that relationships are going to be part of your life journey this year. The midpoint is still in Capricorn, but it's moved to 15 degrees. But the crucial thing, I think, is that that combination between Mars and the Sun does square up with Pluto in your 11th house of the future. But rather like your birth chart, Jupiter's forging an amazing link with the Sun and with Mars. So, and that's in the part of your horoscope to do with working behind the scenes. So if you work in an institution or hospital, psychiatric unit, a prison, a big business, but you work behind the scenes, that could be very valuable to you. But I think with Pluto in a direct right angle with the Sun and Mars in your 7th house of relating and Pluto in your sector of the future, if a relationship isn't working for you, then I think this is going to be a big year for you to make some key decisions. So I hope that has been of interest to you, Barbara. Thank you so much for entering.
Beautiful chart.
Now, if you would like to enter for the birthday prize draw winner, it is for week commencing
The 25th.
the 25th of October through to the 3rd of November. Please don't enter your birthday if it's outside those times, because we can't use it, because we want to keep it within, what's going on in the planets at the moment, because it makes it much more topical. Thank you so much for your subscriptions, your lovely comments, your interaction. Thank you too to our Patreons. We actually shared some photographs after we'd been for a swim earlier this week. We were very brave because It was a bit nippy, to say the least. So I hope that our rather sort of like stripped down pictures were not, didn't put you off
Put anyone off their dinner.
Off their dinner. And if you would like to become a patron, you can do some from $3 a month, and we're very grateful for that. And as I said, you can also get a view of the deep dive video for that full moon, but also subscribe to your 3 daily horoscope. And please see the link beneath the video for that. But now we've got the modality of the week. Which card have you gone for?
Well, going with our, stripped down beach theme, I thought we'd use the mermaids and dolphins oracle cards.
Well, it was really funny actually, because we've had some friends staying here this week, and we went down to the beach again, and well, we think it was probably a
seal.
Seal.
It was.
Yeah, and there was a few of them, and they were sort of moving around because their heads are actually, when you're from the shore, very human-like.
Yeah, I'm still convinced one of them may have been a mermaid.
The Cardigan Bay where we are is really quite famous for all the sort of dolphins and porpoises and so on. So
yeah, it was beautiful to see.
yeah, it was just we get really excited by wildlife. Yeah. Well, I do. We also saw a curlew. Curlew.
Yes.
A curlew, which is a bird with a very, very long beak, and that was really exciting as well. So
yeah, I love those. Crazy
Righty.
things. Right. Okay.
Da, 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 da.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness, this card is beautiful. It says empowerment, and we have these 3 mermaids, and one of them has these wings as well, so it's kind of like a mermaid angel. It says on this card, you're more powerful than you realise, and it's safe for you to be powerful.
Well, so self-nurture.
Yeah, self-nurture. For a lot of us, I feel at times we've had to maybe dim our light or hide our power to try and fit into a situation, or to maybe even try and make other people feel comfortable. But I think the time is now for people who are maybe more individual, who want to put a label on it, to show those, quirky differences, and to celebrate that rather than hide an aspect of ourselves. Yeah. So let our true selves come out. Some people might not get it, but there will be people that will.
If you go back years and years and years, and some people who watch this, I'm sure will really relate to this, the British used to be a nightmare for trying to bring people down. It's all about bringing down to the lowest common denominator. And I can say that because I'm British. And of course, someone who's British watching this will disagree with me. But these days we have, there are platforms to be individualistic in a way that people cannot even imagine. The whole process of life when I was a kid was that you were battered into being types. You had to be a particular type. And that was to conform, and that's what caused bands like the Rolling Stones to emerge, because it was countering that brutal sometimes power that was all about and there was obviously loads of stuff going on in those days to do with corruption and child abuse and rape and misogyny, but all these things were swept under the carpet because of power. So even though it may not be a perfect world that we live in, and there may be things that we need to work on, compared to how it used to be in terms of being able to dye your hair green if you want, have a stud through your nose,
Yeah, you've got a tattoo now.
Yes, can you believe that? Blimey O'Reilly. So things have really, really changed in terms of being individualistic. So when you say, don't let anyone dim your light, I think that's fantastic.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Been a real pleasure to be with you.
Yes.
We're actually recording the show before Sunday this week, which is very unusual because we have got a visitor for the next couple of days. My oldest standing friend from when I was 5, Jilly, and she's coming to stay. And then we have to shoot off back to our old hometown for on Sunday night. So we're doing this early today, this week, I should say. Yes. So thank you so much for joining us. So from the A team, it is
goodbye from me,
and it's goodbye from her. Goodbye.
Goodbye.